Wow, this is exciting. My goodness, thank you guys, each of you, for being here. And before we get started, I would love to take a breath with you and just take a deep breath in. And notice the space as you exhale. So today we're going to be speaking about the space between. The space between that we have in every single moment, every single breath that we take, every single step that we take, every single decision that we make. And so my initial intention today was to come in here with my story, share some slides, share a 4-step method that has completely changed the trajectory of my life. And as every single one of us here have been stuck before, whether it's the person next to you, the person in front of you, the person behind you, each of us have experienced the feeling of stuckness, where we kind of feel like we're constricted and we can't move. And initially, I had these incredible slides that I was planning, and I was really excited for them, by the way. They looked beautiful, and I kept planning and planning and planning. And I woke up yesterday morning, and I was freaking out about my slides. The details, the explanations. We want to reach onto the tangibles, right? The things that we can see, the things that make us feel safe. But what if we're already safe? And we don't need the step-by-step, right? We don't need the details. And sometimes we don't need the slides. So all 20 of my slides went into the garbage, and it made me realize in that moment that oftentimes, it's our plan that gets in the way of God's plan. And I wasn't meant to have slides. I wasn't meant to know what I was going to say, the punchlines and all the things, and say, you know what, this is a slide where I'm going to say this, and we're going to laugh about it and visualize that, rather than just come here with my truth. Because I know that my truth will invite you and you and you into your own. So I'm going to walk you through the 4-step method. It's called the ARMS method. And the first step to any change is awareness. If we are not aware, if we do not notice it, we cannot change it. So it's so important in this step to be honest with yourself around where you're at in your life. And knowing that it's okay. Give yourself some grace to just be where you are in that moment. So I'll use yesterday as an example. Yesterday I woke up and I was like, I need to figure out these slides. Again, it comes down to the plans. We want the details. We want to make sure that we'll be okay. But once you connect with your heart, you know that you're already safe. You know that you're already okay. You don't have to have slide or step 1, 2, 3. Because in every single step that we take, notice that we're taking a step here and a step here. We can pivot at any moment that we want, and that's what makes the journey the journey. Because the journey wouldn't be the journey without the journey. So that leads us to step 2, which is responsibility. Responsibility, something that I denied my whole life, by the way. I was like, you know what? I'm going to blame out there. It's going to be this person's fault, that person's fault. My life is like that because of this person. But when we point out there, we are handing our power of choice and the direction of our life in someone else's hands. It's in someone else's hands. So, rather than saying it's mom's fault, dad's fault, my brother's fault, my sister's fault, that 2nd grade teacher, it was that person's fault. Yeah, it wasn't my fault, couldn't be my fault, right? And just, again, give yourself some grace and own it. Because there is a space between ownership and blame. Now, depending on which way you choose, if you take responsibility, right? If we take responsibility, that will direct your life, and it will direct it accordingly. Or we can deny it, We can blame others. That will also direct your life and direct it accordingly. There is always a space between. And in that space between, you can pivot, which leads us to our third step, okay? So M is making a different decision. So oftentimes, what we tend to do is, I'm going to make the decision, or not make a decision at all, right? That is still deciding when you're not deciding. So if you make a different decision, you're offering yourself a different experience. So when you're open to something different, you can experience something different. I'm going to say that again. When you are open to something different, you can experience something different. And having that open space of where you allow yourself to be and take a chance. And just take a chance. So, that leads us to our fourth and final step, which is my favorite. Wasn't always my favorite, by the way. But it's my favorite now because we tend to lean on this, the explanation, the details, our own strength. I need to control. I need to know that. What if we just step away from control for a moment and we go to this side, which is trust? S is for spiritual surrendering. Surrendering means you don't need to know what to do, where to go, how to do it, what to say, when to say it. And that's the best part, is listening. Each of us have an intuition here, yeah? How many of us listen to it? Well, so, right? Sometimes we have to go kind of hear it over and over and over and over again, right? The beautiful thing about an intuition is that it whispers. It doesn't yell. It doesn't shout. It doesn't scream. It whispers and says, this is the way. Trust it. This is the way. Trust it. This is the way. Trust it. So it's telling us the way. Will you trust it? Because there is a space between. There is a beautiful space between our minds, our head, and our heart. And when you connect here, you don't need to have the answers. Because what happens is that during those steps of your journey, guides you to your answers, and your answers, and your answers. My journey, my story, I can share it. However, it's going to look different from yours. So my story and these steps are to invite you into taking a chance at your own and creating whatever it is. And just taking a chance at yourself. So an intuition is you feel it and you follow it. And you feel it and you follow it. So once you feel it, you follow it. What we tend to do is we feel it, and then we're like, we go up here, right? We go up here and we're like, I don't know. And then we go back to what the decision was before. Remember, this is the big part. Remember why you made the decision in the first place. Remember why you made this decision in the first place. Because when you remember why you made the decision, and why you took a chance, and why you pivoted, you get to reflect back on your journey and see the dots. Just like this dot right here, this red dot right here. I can look at this as speakers, not sure if everyone knows this, we are meant to stay on this red dot. Stay on this red dot, and we can look at this as a space of constriction, a space of stuckness, where we can't move, right? Or we can look at this space as a space of opportunity, a space of choice, a space of showing you what to do, where to go, how to do it, just by allowing the space. So the perception of the space between is when we're stuck between two different lives, two different paths, two different ways, So what happens is that we wind up getting stuck in the middle of it all because we're not deciding. So then we wind up not moving. And we wind up lingering and hovering in the space between. And then what happens if we're hovering in the space between, the hovering becomes our life. And then we feel stuck. We feel frozen. We feel like we can't move. So if this is going to be anything, allow the space between to be where you get to choose what you want to do with your life, what you want to do, and how you would like to define what the space between is for you. Because you are never stuck. You are never stuck. As much as it may seem and feel like you are stuck and that you can't move, always know that just like yesterday, and I'm changing my slides and I had them delete a bunch today, you can always pivot. You can always pivot. There is always a space between that will show you another way. Thank you.